Leverage is one of the most misunderstood ideas in modern self-improvement. People mention it constantly, yet very few ever build it in a way that changes their life. Most assume leverage means money, influence, or scale, something external, something you get later. In reality, leverage is quieter, slower, and far less impressive at the start. It isn't about doing more, it's about choosing actions that continue working after you stop touching them. Up to this point on this channel, we've talked about why motivation fades, why discipline alone fails most people, why mental exhaustion is mistaken for laziness, and why hard work without structure keeps people stuck. Leverage is the missing layer underneath all of it. Without leverage, effort decays. With leverage, even small actions compound. That difference explains why some people feel permanently busy, while others feel increasingly in control. Real leverage almost never looks productive in the beginning. It doesn't come with urgency, praise, or visible progress. It often feels like you're doing less than everyone around you. That's why most people abandon it early. They confuse progress with movement, and leverage rarely creates immediate movement. What it creates instead is asymmetry, a situation where the upside grows over time while the downside stays limited. There are only a few forms of leverage that actually matter in real life, and none of them rely on intensity. The first is time leverage. This is when work done once continues producing value repeatedly. Writing, systems, automation, ownership, content, and processes all fall into this category. You invest effort up front, then let time do the rest. Most people avoid this because it delays feedback. There's no instant payoff, no applause, and no certainty. But this is how compounding begins. The second form is decision leverage. This is where structure replaces willpower. Instead of constantly forcing yourself to do the right thing, you design your environment so the right action becomes the default. Fewer decisions, fewer points of failure, less reliance on motivation. This is why discipline alone fails most people. It asks you to override human limits instead of designing around them. The third form is positional leverage. Being in the right environment makes average effort outperform intense effort in the wrong one. This applies to work, relationships, geography, and information. Most people underestimate how much friction their environment creates. They assume the problem is internal when it's structural. Leverage removes friction instead of fighting it. Most people never build leverage because they're too busy maintaining output. They wake up, perform tasks, get through the day, and repeat. Their discipline is consumed by maintenance instead of construction. Nothing accumulates, nothing compounds. This is why so many people feel mentally exhausted even when life looks fine on the surface. The brain recognizes when effort isn't leading anywhere. That isn't laziness, it's feedback. Leverage also feels uncomfortable because it requires faith in delayed results. You don't get validation early on. You don't get clear signals that you're on the right path. You're building something that hasn't proven itself yet. Most people quit here, not because leverage doesn't work, but because it doesn't reward impatience. It asks you to tolerate silence. The people who eventually gain control don't look like they're trying harder. They look calmer. That calm isn't confidence, it's insulation. Their systems absorb stress instead of transferring it to them. When effort is required, it's applied selectively, not constantly. They don't rely on discipline to survive each day. They rely on structure to carry them forward. This is the opposite of hustle culture. Hustle glorifies visible effort and constant output. Leverage prioritizes invisible setup. Hustle feels productive immediately. Leverage feels unproductive until it suddenly isn't. That delay filters out almost everyone. Not because leverage is rare, but because patience is. The practical shift is subtle but powerful. Stop asking how to be more disciplined and start asking what removes the need for discipline. Stop asking how to work harder and start asking what continues working when you stop. Stop measuring progress by activity and start measuring it by durability. If the result disappears the moment you rest, it isn't leverage. Leverage doesn't make you rich overnight. It makes you difficult to replace. It creates optionality. It gives you time back. And over long enough periods, it separates people who feel busy from people who feel in control. The difference isn't effort. It's where effort is placed. This channel isn't about intensity, motivation, or grinding harder. It's about systems, leverage, and long-term advantage. If that way of thinking resonates, you already understand what leverage actually looks like.